You know, sometimes you hear about a story that just stays with you, even if it happened decades ago, even if it's across the world. The story I'm about to share is one of those. It's about Anita Cobby, a young woman from Australia whose life was taken in such a heartbreaking way that even today, people remember her with sadness and anger. Anita was 26 years old. She was beautiful, not just on the outside, but the kind of beauty that radiates from kindness. She had worked as a nurse, helping people every single day, and a few years earlier, she had even won a beauty pageant called Miss Western Suburbs. But beyond all that, she was just Anita, a daughter, a sister, a woman with dreams. On the night of February the 2nd, 1986, Anita was heading home after a shift at the hospital in Sydney. She usually would have someone pick her up. That night, for reasons no one could have predicted, she ended up walking from the train station alone. She called her dad from a payphone, letting him know she was on her way. Just a normal, everyday call. She was just minutes away from being safe at home. But she never made it. That night, a group of 5 men were out looking for trouble. And sadly, Anita crossed their path. These 5 men, John Travers, Michael Murdoch, and the Murphy brothers, Michael, Gary, and Les, they weren't just random criminals. They were deeply troubled individuals with violent pasts, broken childhoods, and long criminal records. John Travers, the ringleader, was only 18 at the time, but already had a history of violence and cruelty that's hard to even talk about. Michael Murdoch was known as a rough drifter, while the Murphy brothers had grown up in a dysfunctional and abusive environment, each carrying years of resentment and violence inside them. That night, they saw Anita walking. They pulled over in their car and kidnapped her. And what happened next was unspeakable. They took her to a secluded paddock in a rural area. There she endured unimaginable horrors, beaten, assaulted, degraded. Despite everything, Anita tried to survive. She fought for her life with every ounce of strength she had, but the men were merciless. Finally, John Travers slit her throat to silence her forever. Anita's body was found 2 days later, lying in a field. The whole country, really the whole world, was stunned, not just because a young woman had been murdered, but because of the sheer brutality of it. She wasn't just killed, she was destroyed by people who had no respect for life, no mercy, no humanity. The investigation moved quickly. Police were relentless, and soon they tracked down the 5 men responsible. It didn't take long for their stories to fall apart. Witnesses came forward, confessions were made, and the full horror of what they did that night came to light. In 1987, all 5 were sentenced to life in prison, with no chance of parole. At the sentencing, the judge said they should never be released, and honestly, I think almost everyone agreed. Even prisoners, who are often seen as rough and hardened, were reportedly disgusted by what they had done. The public's reaction was overwhelming. People cried for Anita and her family. Strangers laid flowers at the place where she was found. There were candlelight vigils, marches for justice, and calls to reinstate the death penalty. Australia wasn't just grieving. It was furious, heartbroken, and deeply shaken. Anita's parents, Gary and Grace Lynch, turned their grief into something powerful. They became advocates for victims of violent crime, setting up support groups to help others who faced similar heartbreak. Even in their darkest pain, they chose to fight for good. And maybe that's part of Anita's legacy too. Love in the face of hate, light in the face of darkness. Personal safety tips for everyday life. Because staying aware doesn't mean living in fear, it means protecting your freedom. 1. Trust your gut. It's not just a feeling. That little voice in your head that says something's off? Listen to it. Whether you're walking alone, getting into a ride, or talking to someone new. If something feels wrong, it probably is. You don't need a reason to walk away. 2. Let someone know where you're going. This one is simple and powerful. If you're heading home late, taking a new route, or meeting someone unfamiliar, send a quick text to a friend or family member. Share your location if you can. It's not about paranoia. It's about being traceable if something ever goes wrong. 3. Avoid isolated areas when you're alone. Dark alleys, empty parks, train platforms with no one around. Try to avoid them when possible. If you're coming home late, stay in well-lit, busy areas. Take the longer route if it's safer. Safety always beats convenience. 4. Always carry your phone, charged and ready. A dead phone in your pocket can't help you. Make it a habit to keep your phone at 50% or higher if you're going out. Also, consider keeping emergency contacts or shortcuts ready. Some phones let you press a button 5 times to send an alert. 5. Don't be afraid to ask for help. If you feel followed or unsafe in public, walk into a store, restaurant, or public place and tell someone. You don't need to explain everything, just say, "I don't feel safe. Can I stay here a minute?" Most people will help. 6. Don't share too much with strangers. It's okay to chat with your rideshare driver or someone new at a coffee shop, but keep personal details like where you live, work, or your daily routines to yourself. 7. Learn your body's voice and your exit options. Whether you're out jogging, on public transport, or in a rideshare, notice where exits are. Keep one ear free if you're using headphones, and try not to be lost in your phone when walking in unfamiliar areas. 8. Self-defense isn't about fighting. It's about creating distance. If possible, consider learning basic self-defense. Not to fight, but to break free and run. Even knowing how to shout confidently or use your keys to draw attention can give you an edge. 9. Respect red flags in others. People who constantly test your boundaries, push you into uncomfortable situations, or make you feel small, those aren't harmless quirks. Manipulation, emotional control, or aggressive behavior early on can escalate. Know the signs. 10. Be there for others. If you see someone who looks nervous, like they're being followed or harassed, don't ignore it. Even eye contact, walking near them, or asking, "Hey, are you okay?" can interrupt a dangerous situation. We protect each other best when we watch out for one another. Staying safe isn't about being afraid. It's about being smart. The truth is, the world can be harsh, but it's also full of people who care, who protect, and who believe that one life taken is one too many. So move with confidence. Trust your instincts. Look out for each other. And if you ever feel like you're in a story that's turning dark, know that you have every right to rewrite the ending. I think about Anita sometimes, how she was just living her life, doing her job, making plans for the future. How, in a blink, her story was stolen by 5 men who didn't deserve even a moment of her time. But Anita deserves to be remembered, not for how she died, but for how she lived. For the kindness she showed, the lives she touched, and the strength she showed even in her final moments. And maybe stories like hers remind us to look out for each other a little more, to be aware, to care, to never take a safe trip home for granted, because life, as beautiful as it is, can also be painfully fragile. Stay safe, stay kind, and let's keep remembering those like Anita, with love, with respect, and with a promise to make the world just a little bit better.